welcome them to You, Me, and a Cup of Tea. This is really fun and exciting to be here with Matthew, friend and colleague, well, sort of colleague, but I'm really excited to be here for You, Me, and a Cup of Tea as an opportunity to introduce Matthew's new book to the world. I know how exciting this is and what a process it is, and having met Matthew a couple of years ago and being part of this journey, it's really an honor to have been trusted, Matthew, with reading your book ahead of time and talking to you about it and watching this whole process, and then seeing it when you showed, sent the front cover and seeing it all come there, and then being asked to put a little vignette in there for you and stuff. It's just been so exciting. So I know if I'm this excited about it, you must be busted at the seams. How's it feel? How does it feel?
Oh, it's incredible. It's so incredible, Lesley. And it's been an honor and a joy to have you involved in the process, and to have an idea that you want to create something special to help and serve the profession, to have it come to fruition. And it actually went to the printing press on December 1st, and it's going to be made available to the world on December 14 at the Midwest Clinic and online. So it just couldn't be happier.
So it's like you're in labor right now, just waiting for it to come out. Oh, so exciting. Well, tell me, I'm going to ask you some questions here because I know people are going to be excited about the book, but a lot about, before we get to know about this, why did you write? What did you not have enough to do during a pandemic while teaching online music? I mean, I don't know tell me what inspired you to pick now to write this book.
Yeah, well, like everyone, when the pandemic hit, it really struck me, and it was, emotionally really hard for me, in the trenches, like everybody, trying to figure it out. Right, we're just all trying to figure it out. What do we do now? What do we do? Everything we thought we knew was taken away, and how do we respond? And I just felt this compulsion, right? This burning fire inside to find a way to serve. To find a way to serve the profession. Is like I couldn't quell it. I had to do something, and I think you can relate to that, Lesley. I think that you also jumped right in, didn't you? You went right into the fire when the pandemic happened, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what we do as teachers, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are you teaching in this book? Is it a lesson plan for something?
Well, I was thinking that teachers, we go through so much, and our lives can be really, really challenging, and we put our students first always, and often at the detriment of ourselves, right? And I think, right, I bet there's a lot of yeses in the chat, right? Like our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, and our emotional health is often like an afterthought, and that's because we're giving people, and that's why we became teachers. But I found that if we don't fill our cup first, we don't have enough to give. And what we do as teachers matters so much. And I saw teachers, leaving the profession and burning out. And I said, you know what, I want to support teachers and show people that if you can take care of yourself, and I provide so many strategies in the opening of the book about choosing our mindset, choosing our attitude, choosing our thoughts, choosing how we respond, but then giving real practical ideas such as, mindfulness, breathing techniques, and what we think about first thing when we wake up in the morning to set up the trajectory of our day. And so that's how the book begins. And then it goes into... I was going to say, I do take it into the classroom. So it starts with the teacher, and then it's how do we bring these ideas of mindset, mindfulness, and creating culture by design, rather than letting culture happen by accident or haphazardly.
Yeah, but you can't do that in a classroom if you don't have that already figured out for you, right? Or if you're at least not working on it. Like, you can't be a great music teacher if you're not a good musician, right? And I love the example you used. I think it was in chapter 4 about a Celica you were driving, and you ignored the check engine light. And you paid a price, a very steep price. And I don't know if you impressed Marilee or not with your inability to follow directions when your car tells you to do something.
There were a lot of, Matthew, why didn't you check the oil?
Yeah, even I told you to do, but how often do we ignore our own check engine light? It's right now, or I don't know about you, but sometimes people look at my first book and they're like, I don't have time for self-care right now. I'm too busy. And I think your example of the Celica is, well, if you don't make time, it'll make time. You'll have plenty of time when your car's broken down on the side of the road and you're waiting for the tow truck, right? So
So true.
talk to us a little bit about, you know, why it's so important that we take this seriously about ourselves. You mentioned the cup. You got to fill your own cup first and stuff. And what happens if you don't? What happens if you just don't have time?
Well, we'll flame out. And I compare it to a candle that's burning at both ends and at the
Mm.
center. It just, and I think many of us feel that way. Like, well, what am I going to do? And I've tried to create a book that is practical, user friendly, fun to read, inspiring, and authentic. That has real practical strategies that you can do right away. And some of them are as easy as breathing through your nose.
Right. And we're already breathing anyway, right? It's not like
Yeah.
you're adding another thing. Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta
So like,
breathe now.
how do we
What?
breathe? And if we were all to check in on how we breathe, interestingly enough, 90% of folks in the United States, the research says, breathe incorrectly. So if we can just start breathing down low in our belly and stimulating our vagus nerve, we actually can, I won't get deep into the science now, but it leads to reducing stress, reducing anxiety just by changing the way you breathe during the day, or doing a deep inhale and slow exhale before you teach a class. You can already lower your blood pressure. And I know, Lesley, this is something you talk about in your books, you've been doing with your classes for years and had wonderful benefits. And I found the same. Beginning a class with gratitude can change the culture and the spirit of everything that happens after that. Sharing gratitude, breathing in gratitude, and then bringing gratitude into your own life can transform how your day goes.
And acknowledging that gratitude. I think so often, and you point out in your books, how often, I think I know you talked about going for a walk and you might have walked the same path 100 times, but you can always notice something new. Or you talk about when you're out walking, noticing how your feet hit the ground or the way the breath comes to you. And so I love that you're not saying, set aside an hour and go to the gym. No, you're like, hey, on the things you're already doing, you're already walking to the office to check your mailbox. Why don't you take a few deep breaths and lower your blood pressure on the way there, right? I mean, you give such really good, practical, not add more crap to your plate kind of advice. And I think that's so timely right now and so important. And that makes it doable,
Yeah.
instead of, and there are other things, yes, we need to do too, like you have for the journaling and those other things, because this is a process, but it can start and we can feel some changes with those taking a breath as you're walking down the hall.
Yeah. So oftentimes music education books will focus on the student first. Upbeat focuses on the teacher first, and getting ourselves centered and grounded so that we can be at our best for our students. And I find that culture is a centerpiece of the book. I think, it's chapter 7 is sort of right in the middle. And I think everything that happens, the leadership aspect, and which is the part 3, mindset, mindfulness, what we do for ourselves, all of that is going to impact the culture of our classroom. And if we can get to a place where we're at our best, it's going to help lead to the culture that we want to create, rather than being, frantically reacting to what's coming at us. We can be more proactive and collaborative with our students.
I loved how you talked about one way you do that is to, like at night, think of some things you've been grateful for. You could do this with your students, right? Think of 3 things you're grateful for. And sometimes it's hard for kids because a lot of negativity out there and some things are bad. And you used a phrase that I'm stealing, by the way, and I will use it, called a mental treasure hunt. And I love that phrase because if you say that to kids, something you're grateful for, let's go on a mental treasure hunt and look for something. It gives them a way, oh, I don't know, or I've had a bad day, I can't think of anything. And I think that's just one of the techniques that you use, or that you mentioned in there that phrasing with students could help them open up and help them find ways to find some things that are going right in their life. Because right now it's so easy to find the things that aren't. And that's another important piece of your book is really saying we can't change a lot of our circumstances, but we are in control of how we respond to them.
Yeah.
And the like.
Yeah. Yeah. And we
So
can
you
also,
wrote the book. Oh,
I was gonna say, we can also choose, what we focus on. And we can choose to like watch the news 24/7, which I don't recommend at all. Or we can choose to be on our phones up until the point we fall asleep, but I don't recommend that either. But again,
mhm.
these are choices. So we can choose, hey, we're gonna put our phones down, we're gonna put our screens down at least an hour before we go to bed so we can have a better night's sleep. Uh, because we got to be energized. And so we'll talk about that in the book.
Yep. Yep. Because yeah, and I love all of those things because it seems so simple, but it's hard. I think we get those addictions to the phones and to all of those things, and it gets us off track, and it makes it hard to get through some, and it creates a lot more stress for us. So your practical advice is hard, but if people will take some of it and do it, and if they, I love the way you write in the book too, with like the vignettes and stuff. You talk about some different things, and then you have other music teachers and other people who give their stories or their take on what you're doing, and that gives such a cool flavor too. It's like we've got the what Matthew says, and then we see how it can apply outside, and that is so helpful right now when our brains are tired of being creative and thinking all the time. It really helps us. The format that you've chosen for this, you write a bit, there's the vignettes, there's the journal piece, there's the reflections, and there's consistency. Your book has a rhythm and a flow that makes it really easy and fun to read,
Awesome.
and the like too. And I think one of the things that's super obvious, and I've known you for a few years now, and we've spent lots of time on the phone and talking about all kinds of stuff. And the book is genuinely you. It's
Mhm.
not like some great ideas that you think other people should try, but like it's you. I know that you do these things that you talk about. And Marilee's posted pictures of you sitting there meditating with your dog in your lap, right? And your cup of tea. I know that you do these things, and I know that because I've watched you go and work with groups when you've done stuff at like Wibbick and at other places, and I've seen how kids respond to what you do. You've taught you taught middle school and high school before you've been off at Lawrence University, right? So you've covered everything. You're speaking from experience. You've been in the trenches, and it comes through, and it's so genuine, and it's just lovely. What do
Oh,
you what do you want to be a big takeaway for folks that are right now going, well, I wonder if that'd make a good stocking stuffer, or who's the kind of person this is geared to? What would you like to share with our audience right now?
well, folks that have read Upbeat, and if you go to my website, upbeatglobal.com, and you go to the book page, you'll be able to read from lots of folks that have read the book and shared share their thoughts. And the feedback that I've gotten is that one, it's a must read. It's a book you're going to want to read again and again and again. You're going to want to get this book for yourself, but also for your colleagues at school, your whole music department, the fine arts department. You want to give it to your administrators. You're going to want to share it with teachers, share it with friends, because it's really applicable to all of us. And what many folks have said is that it's really timely. It's really timely. We need something to lift us up, but not in a Pollyanna, rose-colored glasses kind of way that ignores reality. This is in our time that we're living, and saying, hey, this is how you can choose to lead and live your life. You don't have to give up your power. You don't have to give up your control, because nobody controls your thoughts. People try to control your thoughts, but you can choose what you choose to focus on. And by choosing to focus on gratitude, or how you can lift somebody else up, or try to bring joy to a situation, to nurture relationships and connections during a time when we need more connections. And so folks have found I've been inspired by reading the book. It's an incredible resource of information. There's a whole blueprint for teaching leadership. Leadership teachers are saying, hey, I'm going to use this for my leadership training. I'm going to buy a book for every student leader. Universities are getting this for their music education students. And they say, there's something in this book for everybody. And that really makes me feel good, as the readers have responded. Like Scott Edgar really resonated with the social emotional learning and mindfulness aspect. And what I would share is that SEL, we often talk about it for students, but this book is both SEL for the teacher and for the students. So whatever you're looking for, folks have told me that it's there, and that it resonates, and it's authentic and inspiring. So I'm excited about the feedback.
Well, it's got a ton of great resources, and like you said, it's a resource to come back to again and again, because like when we teach music to kids, we don't teach them the B flat major scale and then move on and never come back to it. We review that. We review what good tone is like. We practice passages. We practice patterns over and over. And changing our thoughts or helping our thoughts be what we want takes practice and intentional practice. And so when you talk about coming back to your book, people can do that and realize that when they come back and practice it more, practice the breath more, they'll get better at it, and it becomes easier, just like playing the instruments do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. And I know that you're working on a third book, Lesley,
Yes.
which is fantastic. And why don't you share a little bit about what you're working on?
All right, twist my arm. I'm calling it Pay Attention, and learning to unlock your superpower and teach your students a valuable skill. And as I've been working with teachers, especially since the pandemic, even before, but especially since we've been in it and coming back, people are talking about kids just are having a hard time being focused and paying attention. And we tell kids all the time, pay attention. But do we teach them how? And just like I was talking about, we teach kids all these other techniques and hard things to do and to play passages and to do these things. We can teach the skill of paying attention, and then everything else becomes so much easier. And I was doing this long before COVID, and oh my gosh, I'm so glad I've done it, because it's back in my classroom. It's actually been quite easy to make the transition back in because my kids have learned that skill and the like. So I'm like, this is too good not to share. So that's what I'm writing my third book about, and I'm pretty excited about that. It's sure easier the third time than it was the first time.
I can't wait. Wow.
So,
You're such an inspiration to so many, and just a reminder to all of us about how we matter. Like our well-being and wellness matters, and we can make a change. We don't have to continue in the rat race that never stops. Even if we are going and going and going, it's how we experience that journey and that process. And you're a leader in that. I just love that. So I'm gonna go ahead and
I was just going to say, could you tell us how we can get our hands on this, and how it's
yeah,
going to make its debut coming up? This is
isn't
so
this cover
exciting.
isn't this cover amazing?
I love the color.
Oh
And
yeah.
I love the title, because upbeat as a music teacher. I mean, upbeat. It's all there. Everything in one word. It's all about the preparation. It's all of that.
Yep.
You captured that so well.
Absolutely. Yes. That comes from the conductor's upbeat, the preparatory
Yeah.
gesture. And so this is, I'll leave the screen up here for a moment here. If you like the QR code, you can go straight to my website where you can order the book. It's published by GIA Publishing. I send you to my website because there's a lot more information here, and you can read what many folks have said about the book, such as Tim Lutzenheiser, Paula Kreider, Lesley Moffat, and so many folks, Scott Edgar. So many folks you'll know in the industry. And so upbeatglobal.com/book, take you to the page. You can read about it. There's some videos already up there about the book, and you can pre-order your copy. And they're coming out December 14. If you're going to be at the Midwest Clinic, I'm excited to share. I'm also doing a clinic on Friday, December 17, 2:30 p.m. in room W184. And this is a collaborative clinic with two band directors from Boston area, Ali Lacasse and Jared Cassidy.
Oh,
yeah, and they're amazing. And so I worked with them during the pandemic virtually over a year-long process working on culture. So this is the outgrowth of that. The clinic's titled Fine-Tuning Ensemble Culture and Why It Matters, Intentionally Creating a Positive Community Through Conversation and Collaboration. So I hope if you're there, please come to the clinic. It's going to be really, really helpful, we hope. And then Friday morning, December 17 at 10:30 a.m., I'll be doing a book signing for the book. So you can get it live at the GIA booth or pre-order it now and have it sent, and it'll arrive before the holidays. And so just super excited.
Well, perfect timing. I know teachers out there, getting something like that over this break, even, and having a chance when there's some time to like look at it, take it all in, and thinking about a direction they might want to take stepping into a new year. 2020 and 2021 have been pretty tough. You give some hope for folks as they step into a new year, maybe one or two things they might want to start with changing. And when they start to see the results, that come from that, they're going to get addicted and they're going to keep on going.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm so excited for you, and that you've put all of the things you've been doing into this book so that more people around the world can see what's going on and make changes in their lives and classrooms. It's very powerful.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the live stream. If you were at the Facebook Live or looking at this later, it's just an honor to have you spend time. Yes. And we'll close with a final sip of tea. You know, my mug here says believe, and I think that's important. Believe.
There we go.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Good night.